been satisfied. Meeting dates for the meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Okay, first item on the agenda to be considered, training and seminars for LGBTQ and inclusion. I think Councilwoman Dayton, you put this, why don't you talk about this, this topic, please?
Sure. So this is actually not just me, but the request from our Tenafly Pride Committee. What we have learned is that we are interested in more education. And one of the main trainings we can do is something called How to Be an Ally. We have spoken with a couple different groups, but in particular, the one that we like the training programs is from Garden State Equality, which is throughout the state, and they bring in professionals. So I had mentioned this type of programming to Jimmy and Alicia, and I had asked for us to have Alicia, who I don't think she's here yet.
I'm here.
Hi, Alicia. Thank you. To look into some options possibly. Now, this would be for our borough employees. This isn't for our community. That's something else the Pride Committee is looking into separately. But this would be sort of like HR policies for all of our departments and our borough. So can I turn it to Alicia, unless Jimmy?
Yeah, so, yeah, I guess, Jimmy, you want to take it? Alicia, whoever's going to talk.
Alicia, looking into this.
Yep, correct. Alicia, if you have anything to report, and also to, we did relay this to Wendy just for some general oversight for at the time being, since we're going to research into this a little bit more, but I wanted to give Alicia the opportunity to speak to it too, just to her research as well.
Good evening, Mayor and
Go ahead,
Council.
Alicia.
So yes,
Hello.
so I started with looking at first to see what our insurance program offer the GIFs, because they do have training programs through the GIF that we can utilize, which are free programs through in-person training, or it can be self-service training through the web. So I just needed to get a little bit more understanding of what type of training programs we would be looking to implement. And there are definitely different things that we can institute as the borough to show that we are LGBTQ friendly, such as, having our one-star bathrooms be gender neutral. You'll notice in my, maybe you haven't, but if you look at my email signature, you'll notice this is just an example that a way to show that you are an ally is to have your pronouns in your signature. So these are some of the things that I've done at the borough to start building that relationship with the community, and also just using gender neutral language in the communications. You'll notice throughout our employee handbook that I make sure that the language was gender neutral. So in terms of training programs, I would just need to get a little bit more information from the group that you started working with, Councilwoman, to see what direction we can go in from there. And if these services, is it a cost for these services that they offer? Is it something that our staff can do online perhaps? I would just need to get a little bit more in-depth information. So I wouldn't mind meeting with the individual that you included in the email to start the process, if that makes sense.
I kind of want to throw it out to the rest of the council and to
Yeah.
Jimmy. I'd love to hear, what you
Go
guys
ahead,
think.
Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, I support everything Alicia just mentioned. So I just wanted to get some feedback from the council as well.
Jeff, please.
Yeah, so I'm all for training, and I think it's a great idea. One of the things that I've learned though, through training at school, because we get trained on everything, is when you bring someone in live training, in the next year, we'll have new employees. Are you bringing in to retrain? Are you train the same three? So one of the things that schools, at least our school, many schools have gone to, are training modules. They are followed by some sort of an assessment to make sure you're paying attention. But I get trained on everything from HIB,
Or you can try to, yeah, so when you right click, select properties.
Who is
Evra?
Any of you that?
All right, I get trained from that to asthma, to other sensitivity training. So I'm a bigger fan of that kind of module so that if 2 weeks after we have this training, someone new comes on board, they can get it. And I would also add, whatever we are doing for borough employees, we should hold ourselves accountable to the same training, especially if we're doing it that way.
Well, I think we'd be included.
Right, but all I've heard of borough employees, not governing bodies, so I would just broaden the scope because I don't want to ask employees to do something I'm not doing in that sense. That's it. Concept, great.
Council members? Okay, so it sounds like Alicia and Councilwoman Dayton will connect the group with Alicia and Jimmy to go to the next steps to see what the information is all about and how the program works.
Mayor, the thing I would also say is perhaps to compare it to whatever the JIF offers. or
Sure.
media, 'cause that's obviously
Yeah.
limited and
Okay,
I was gonna say, Alicia, thank you for researching the Jeff. That's great news that they have that. Obviously, I think that's an easy one that we should be implementing. If the JIF offers it, that's great and probably no cost. I will of course put us in touch with the other programming, but maybe that's where we start is the JIF.
Yeah, correct. I think it's good if we all have a conversation and just kind of cross-reference and see what they offer, because the JIF does offer on-demand online training. But also I think what we're looking at is, I think, maybe not as something that they would offer to this level. So that's something we could definitely check. I think that would be a good next step.
Okay.
Can I just share one
Thank
more
you.
thing?
of course.
So I also checked in with the New Jersey Chambers of Commerce. They're going to be at the league on the 15th, sharing information on this subject as well.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. All right, so next on the to be considered, I'm moving around one topic with the indulgence of the council. We have Zayden Lee here tonight, Eagle Scout. Zayden, why don't you please come up to the microphone if you wouldn't mind? And just give us your name and address.
Hello, my name is Zayden Lee,
Okay, all right. And where do you live?
42 Anderson Avenue.
Wonderful.
I'm part of Troop 86, Tenafly, New Jersey.
All right, before you start, hold on a second, just so I can tee you up. All right. So Zayden is the Boy Scout who's been working on his Eagle project and rebuilding our community garden. So first off, we're going to start off by saying, we all say thank you very much. We very much appreciate all the effort and the commitment and the work that you've done for the community. So thank you. So why don't you take a few minutes and tell us about your project and your story.
All right. Good evening again to all the members of the Tenafly Council. 2 months ago, I came here for approval for my Eagle Scout project, and it's been quite a busy 2 weeks. Spread over 4 weekends and 26 hours in the past 2 months. Boy Scouts and community gardeners have accumulated over 150 hours of work on this project as well. It's been an exhilarating and fulfilling experience, and I'm elated to say that we have finally finished. I have some pictures to pass around.
These ones that were shared with us.
I think some overlap.
They look awesome.
Yes, some of these pictures were shared around. So we've done 3 parts of this project. The first one, there's some before and after photos of the old garden beds in the West Garden. They were falling apart and rotten, so we removed the old end board and replaced it with a new one. The second part is we cleared an overgrown area of weeds in the East Garden and built 2 new garden bed frames there.
That's right.
And the final part, which was the most time-consuming and long part, was we installed barriers to keep groundhogs out of the garden. So we dug around the perimeter and buried wire underneath. So when the groundhogs wake up in the spring, they won't be able to dig under and eat all the gardeners. All right, so I have a long list of people to thank. The first is the Benjamin Brothers True Value of Tenafly, New Jersey, and the Home Depot in Hackensack, New Jersey, for all of their donations and support for this project. I would also like to thank all the members of the Tenafly Community Garden for all of their help and support, especially Ms. Donna Sack for all her guidance. She showed up every day for all the work, and without her advice and knowledge, this project would not have happened. I would also like to thank Mr. Cassidy and Mr. Ryan from the Tenafly DPW for their assistance providing materials and equipment. Without the shovels, compost, and cardboard they provided us, we would not have been able to do anything for this project. I would like to give a massive thank you to all the members of Troop 86 New Jersey who came out and helped work on this project. They all came out, helped, and even when the weather wasn't good on one of the days, it was raining, they still came out and to lend. And finally, I would like to thank all the members of the Tenafly Council for your supports. Thank you and have a great night.
Wait, before you go, I have a question for you. Thank you for all that information. You guys did a great job. How deep do you have to dig to put fencing down to keep groundhogs from kind of getting into the garden?
Groundhogs can dig pretty deep. They could dig up to 3 feet deep, but we didn't do that. Instead, we sort of built the fencing with like a bend outwards, like an L shape. So when they do try to dig down, they're going to hit that bend and they won't be able to dig underneath.
And so what type of flowers going in the garden, vegetables, what's going there?
All kinds of things are growing in the garden. Ms. Dunsack would probably know this better than I do, but every single gardener has grown something. It's really cool.
Really interesting. And so when you build the beds, how do they look like they're 12 inches deep or so? They're 2 by 12s?
Yes. So the boards were 2 inch by 12 inch by 6 foot boards. They were all graciously donated by the Home Depot.
Well, that's very good. Good. Congratulations. Great job.
Great job.
Appreciate it. So when is your, so we have to sign off on that, then you hand your project in?
Yes.
Is that the last piece for your Eagle project? And so when will the Eagle project ceremony be?
Hopefully within a few months.
Good, good. Great job. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Zayden,
Okay.
let us know when that ceremony is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. You want the picture?
Does anyone from the community garden want to say anything? I have no choice but to put you on the spot.
Sue Truesdell, I live at 21 Norman Place in Tenafly. Can't say enough about Boy Scouts and Zadie's preparation for the project, the energy they put into it. And we've already got people who were on a wait list to get into the community garden.
Great.
Getting assigned pots. We're really excited about next year's growing season. And I encourage all of you to come down and take the work next spring. It's going to be fantastic.
Okay,
You did a wonderful job for us. We're very lucky.
wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, we are.
Thank you very much. Okay, administrators report, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. 2 items. The first is Oresco Park. Happy to say that project's been complete. The walkway and the benches and the emblem are all installed. So the next part would just be closing out the grant with the county. And then on the other subject, the so we added 2 benches there on the path. And then that's it for the grant guidelines, but anything else, of course, we could do internally. Yeah, so I think that would be a good next step, to pick up those discussions on exactly specifically what we want to move or add on how we want to do that. That could, of course, be done.
Jimmy, that packet of playground equipment included tables and benches, and so maybe we want to consider looking into a Resco for that as well.
Okay.
You know, because lots of some of it wasn't in.
I think didn't we
Some of it
put,
will be that.
And we talked specifically about the chess table.
Yeah.
projector tables.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
that's
had
great.
that discussion. Absolutely right.
Oh, yeah, so those are all, yes, they weren't specifically in the grant itself, but of course, yeah, correct. So of course, that could be, we'll look into that. And then on the same topic of the grants, I included a spreadsheet, and again, this is just a starting point with Millennium Strategies and engaging in them for their services for the grant portal. The one that I put on here is an example. It's past its due date as of the deadline for the council packet. There were no other grants available that were not expired and also that pertain to the borough. For example, they had truck freight grants. So stuff that is, applicable to the borough, I would include. So I just wanted to get some feedback from the council, just as a starting point, to communicate what's on there, what's offered on the grant portal is any new grant that is on there, I'll put on the spreadsheet and include the backup so you can see the detail of that grant.
Do we get access to that portal now?
Yeah.
So I have one user.
One seat license.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And
we could send requests to you, like, I'm interested in exploring if there's money available for X. And you could.
Yeah.
It's the thing that we spoke about last time, so I think it's great, I totally think we should do this. We spoke about it last time, Russell brought it up. You have to put in, this doesn't cook it first, do it itself, right? So we need to make sure whatever we think, I'd like Jimmy to propose, I'm making up a number. Once a month or once a week, we're spending 1 hour a week kind of going through it because it's not, I wonder, actually, here's the question, if you could put in keywords that actually push them.
Oh.
So if I may, if I give you my thought process on this and then see if there's different recommendations, because I think what I have in mind might accomplish that, or even on a faster timeline. So what I'm thinking is, my thought was to put at every meeting, update this list. So the list would be continually updated, and the new items that are on here, you will get the full backup to. If the council, at the next council meeting, the list will remain the same. It'll just kind of get pushed down until the grant itself that is on there passes its due date. If it's past its timeline, then it will be taken off. But it would allow the council to see what is available, the full backup, and then each meeting, you'll get the backup to the new ones that are on the portal.
Well, I would have thought correctly, I would have thought there's 100 of them on there.
At the moment, no, and then there's not to that level, but also there are a tons that are applicable to schools, Board of Eds, not municipalities or counties.
Is that surprising to you guys? You don't think?
Well, if there
think
is-
of a time. Right now, across the United States of America, you don't think there's 100 grants that we could be applying to?
I don't know, it's kind of
It sounds very surprising to me.
late in the fiscal year, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's the time of the fiscal year.
We're in
Yeah,
Q4, so it could be
That was gonna be
high.
my next question, was about the seasonality of it all.
But pick a number
Budgets.
on January 15th, I would hope you all.
Oh, yeah, there should be
a
more.
stupid
20.
number
Yeah,
of
yeah,
grants.
yeah.
I can go, sorry, go ahead.
No.
I can go one of two options. If you want to see everything, I can include everything that's on there. It's not an issue.
I'm more
But
worried
yeah,
that we're
there's-
paying $650 a month or something. If there's one item a month, I thought it'd be orders of magnitude.
Well, are you removing? Are you removing grants because, off this list because it's not applicable to us?
Yeah, and I looked through each specific one. So say truck freight for
Right.
highways and things like that. So that's not applicable. Or if there's one that is applicable to the rec department, but we don't offer that sport.
I see. Okay.
And, but again, I could go just to show the value if you would like to see it. Again, that doesn't matter to me. We could put the full listing, just so that the council has an idea of what's on the portal.
Okay, Vanu, next, please.
Do you know how many were on the full list?
I did not count, but there will probably be in excess of 30.
It's something that we can go back to. How many?
I could see, I could ask them to see one kind of, they get an influx, or one kind of would see the bigger ones depending on the time of the year. I could ask.
So one of the great things about grant opportunities is that they kind of force you to think outside of what you already have. So you just said a perfect example, like a rec sport that we don't offer, but if there's a grant and we could offer it and expand our services for our residents, I just want to be able to think, not just, what we need, but what are our future goals? If expanding rec for families is a future goal and there's something like that, I'd want to hear about it. So I think, what might be helpful is when we meet in our special meeting in the community, if we can have a second agenda item and all say, like, what are the things we're hoping to work on for 3 years with grants? I would love a brainstorming session of the mayor and council, and then really give you direction here. Like, we know not only are we looking to build a library, a senior center, et cetera, but we're also to, look for exercise classes or recreation. I would just think it might not be a bad thing to give you a beginning direction and not just like, let me just search the world of grants.
Yeah.
So this is actually following up on what Councilmember Michaels was saying, what I'd said previously about having eyes on this. Looking at the one that you have here, I'm actually concerned about how the timeline on this one appears, and if that's common, that's a problem. Posted on October 4th, deadline to inform them of intent to apply by the 7th, application deadline 1 week later. I am a realist in terms of government turnaround. Thank you. I was looking for a kinder word than I was just going to say. And I am not sure that most governmental bodies could do that. So if this is the normal that they get it posted that late, that could be a potential problem.
Honestly, complete candor, a good number of them did have a very short.
Most of them look like this. So the way I see the way we are going to use this is once our budgeting process is set and we have a list of projects, operational or capital, we now have a second one, optional funding source. We'll have a list of things. We know what we want this year or next year rather. Exactly. So it's like, oh, we can fund it ourselves or we can offset it.
Again, the examples of on a typical March, Sunday, how many things are roughly on there at all times? 2 is the turnaround usually 48 hours. Some of these things, and again, maybe to the mayor's point, maybe it's just weird because there's 60 days left in the year.
So I think the sort of data the council's looking for, will have a difference in terms of how many months.
That
said, I'm very bullish for $625.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was gonna say,
And it's free now, right?
no, they did give a complimentary month. So I would recommend
An actual fiscal year.
Trying this out for 6 to 8 months going into next year. And then
It's gotta just open to say something, so count this, even though it's an annual.
Fiscal, yeah,
agreement, it's
next
gotta
fiscal
be a
year.
determination.
Yeah, it's very low cost and high reward, particularly come January, February, when we're doing budgeting.
It'll help us just
and
offset a lot.
And again, if the council would like, I don't mind including everything that's on there, just to kind of at first, or whatever it is, just to get a general sense of what's on there. I don't mind. It's
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
have my staff, my support staff, with my
I guess
oversight.
include more, if you're in doubt as whether to include it, include it.
No, of course.
Take off the obvious,
School board
grants to
ones.
rebuild from like authority. Not everything.
So
It would be if it's a private toll road. but if it's
only with
farm,
bike path,
then,
bike path. So I just want to respond. So I'm a little concerned if we wait to find out the grants till after we make our budgeting decision in February and March. I would love to see a process where come December, when our CFO and Jimmy meet with our department heads and they say, what's your 3-year, 5-year projected plan? I'd love to see a process where those goals right then and there with our departments can be researched to see. And then during budget time, it's much better to say, there's an eligible grant up for, pothole filler. Yeah, okay. I'm just saying, I'd really like to see an earlier process, like come December 1 when we're with our department heads for budgeting.
Yeah, just to that, just bear in mind
Yeah,
that if they're meeting in December and this is the wish list and we don't decide the budget until February, March, somewhere in there, by then 10 different grant cycles have expired.
Yeah, but we'll know
So-
in December on Jimmy's list.
But we-
Like, this is
but-
1 month.
but
So
from
we
now.
don't know that we're going to pass it. And
Which we
if you
pass in
have to
May.
apply
Yep.
before you
Funds have
pass,
to be allocated.
funded a budget, that's a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the only,
Okay.
it's the,
Chicken and egg.
Okay, I'm
well,
more
the
likely-
cart and the horse in this case.
I will be more likely to pick something that will then have some grant funding attached to it. You know, if I have to choose between two things in a budget,
Right.
I just want
Right,
to know that.
but I don't want it, oh, we're spending this money because this looks cool, but
No, yeah.
something else that we really need, we're gonna, it's tough. I'm just
I
saying,
know, I
The
know.
timing
Chicken
makes
and
it,
egg, chicken and egg.
timing makes it super problematic.
Oh, I hear you.
You know,
Yeah, not that I disagree that 625 is not a large sum of money to get a potential grant that might be significantly higher. But if we're taking the strategy that Dan, Councilman Parker mentioned, of taking, let's say there are 20 projects or whatever that we're talking about in a particular year. We're not going to get like all 20. So
No,
there's
no.
no way to
No.
evaluate that. So if we get 2 or 3,
Even one.
But even one, the likelihood of getting something that's, 100,000 or 200,000 is quite low versus, if we just do the regular grant search, the way that we would do it.
So
I'm
for
just not
ROI,
sure.
we'd have to win one grant of 7,500 per year to make it even, dead even,
Yeah,
for 625 a month.
I would just like to point out that someone's getting these grants. and they're
Like we
all-
won the electric grant. I
Right,
think
they're
we
all
would,
coming from-
we took a shot in the dark and we,
They're
somehow
going to
won it.
Government agencies and municipalities on all kinds of different calendar schedules, so it's working somewhere, right?
Yep.
So we give it a shot. And, be more liberal, show more grants than less grants, and let's see what happens over the next month or two. Okay?
Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you.
Go ahead. continue.
That concludes my report.
I had a question for you, Jim. Well, I guess playgrounds are on for later, so that's not it. Actually, you know what? I'll hold it for when we talk about playgrounds.
Okay,
Thank you, man.
all right, that's it. Okay, all right, we're going to go to public comment time. Audience members wishing to speak will have a 3-minute time limit to address the governing body on items on the committee of the whole agenda. Large groups are asked to have a spokesperson represent them. Would anyone in the audience like to speak? Come on up. How you doing tonight, Andrew? Need to hear your name and address. Please.
Andrew Mikesh, 50 Sherwood Road. I guess I'm going to say something unusual. I would like to thank the council and, but especially would like you guys to thank the DPW because they did an amazing job getting Sherwood Road and the Cotswolds ready for Halloween and a police department also. It gets better every year from the support. I mean, this year, Monday morning, they cleaned up the leaves, and then the sweeper came by and cleaned the street. And we just appreciate it. Mayor, if you could pass along to the appropriate people that their efforts and hard work is appreciated and recognized.
They will. Thank
For coming out. Thanks for coming, sir.
Anyone else looking to speak, please come on up.
Jeff Thompson, 49 West Parkway. I wanted to ask about the resolutions, particularly the resolutions that are being discussed kind of on an ongoing basis. Why they're not released to the public for review?
I didn't hear what you said there. Why the way?
Why they're not released to the public review? If you look at the Open Public Record Act, it specifically said that, if I can quote here, the right of the public is to witness in full detail all phases of deliberation, policy formation, and decision-making of public bodies. Yet all we receive is 5 to 7 words describing resolutions that very often aren't even discussed. And compounding that problem, if we look at the subsequent meeting to this, somehow there's a consent agenda on the same topic before they're even discussed. This is the work session for them to be discussed. How could you know that they're already going to be on consent agenda? So it seems like there's some missing information or information being withheld in the public. And I'm concerned with it. I think a good example of the challenges this presents is the PSCG situation. So I think, we talked about that. There wasn't a lot of information. Jeff, I believe you had that question of CFO about the confusion of the $7,400 savings. And, the response was that it wasn't $7,400, it's actually $3,100. Omar has been working diligently for, I think, 19 days to get me information that was, legally withheld from Oprah's request. I received it yesterday. The information I received from the CFO was untruthful. It's very clear in the information, and I'll hand this to you so you can read it yourself.
So, whatever, you can't hand just me. No, but I mean,
You hand it to the clerk.
yeah, sorry, Jeff. Goes to the clerk who, it's up for everyone.
What you'll see is that's exactly the situation. So we provided untruthful information before passing a resolution. The public was provided untruthful information before passing a resolution. It's very clear here, and if you recall, the utilities are only $6,400 a month, yet this entire calculation is based on, it's under a column monthly savings. I don't even know how you can possibly miss that. 74, 28, 21. And I'm not sure if one of the MBAs picked this up. What the problem is, if you look at it, the calculations weren't even completed. And that's why we have the wrong information here. So the program uses an absolute value, the whole numbers. So if you look at your existing firms for your gas, it shows 0. And it shows what is going to be after tax, 53,834. When you subtract the 2, they took the entire amount of 53,834 as a savings, meaning absolutely free utilities. They did something very similar at lighting, where they left one field blank, left to right. So 294 reduced to 175 is somehow 246,000 kilowatt hours. You take those, multiply them by the unit price that they have here in the back, you'll see that divided by 12 is your $7,428. Making matters worse, if the CFO would have looked at the utility statement, the utility bill, she would have realized that two things. One, the price for the electric savings was quoted at 3 times what we paid. So you were canceling 3 units for every 1 unit in savings. And then even worse, our current gas load is 30,000 therms, yet the proposal after spending $250,000 is going to raise your gas use by 75% to 53,834. You have a proposal here for an increase in gas utility costs. Now, what's worse, and I'm positive the court are referring to this right this. The whole justification for this resolution is based on this flawed cash flow, which means this is going to get thrown out in about 3 seconds if it's challenged. And it appears because it's not on the agenda for tonight, that's exactly what we want. And that's really unfortunate because you have a personnel matter, you have public being misled, and you know you had your bills paid. Had they looked at the utility bills, you would have seen that there's a shut-off notice that we're 2 months behind on PSCG. And we have that in the entire year. Our police, firemen, and ambulance are at risk of having their electricity shut off because our bills aren't being paid. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. All this information would have been available to council had you just asked for it, had you spent 5 minutes reviewing this proposal. So what the public could have done, I think, would have revealed to the public. And then finally, there's absolutely something that's notably missing from the resolutions. It appears we have a closed session scheduled for today, yet there's no resolution for the closed session. Authorizing a closed session for revealing to the public when the closed session meetings are going to be available. So I'm not sure how you're going to have a closed session meeting without that. So I don't know if you want me to wait to the regular meeting to formally begin my objection to the closed session, or if you want to hear it now, I'm happy to do it now.
At your pleasure.
Well, it depends if it's that meeting. Same, so. I'm Jeff Thompson, resident of Tenafly. I protest the closing of the meeting. I ask that you reconsider your intent to disclose this matter of closed session. Further ask that this protest be reported in the official minutes of this meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. Would anyone else here like to speak? How about out on Zoom? Omar, is anyone out there who'd like to speak? Excuse me?
Chad Coleman.
Okay, go ahead. Mr. Coleman? Is
Might be
he-
muted.
You're on mute, Mr. Coleman.
Can you pull them up on the screen, Omar?
I'll try to unmute him. No, he's not there anymore.
Not working, or is he trying to speak?
I'm very glad.
Does he have his hand raised, Omar?
No.
He does not?
No.
So he's not looking to speak? Okay. So if he somehow changes his mind, we'll let him jump in. Is there anyone else up there that looks like they look wanting to speak?
No, I see no other hands in there.
Okay, so we're going to close public comment time. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, resolutions. Anyone have questions? All right.
I wanna actually talk about D.
Which one?
D.
D?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Couple things I just want to make the council aware of. The police commission met, and we were talking about, this is authorized purchase of a vehicle. This fell within our budget. This is not a new vehicle. Is that right, Jimmy? This is the same one that we budgeted for?
It's always like that.
Are you talking about a motorcycle or?
No, this is the Tahoe.
Okay, yeah, then yes.
Okay, and then there is a request that was brought up in our police commission for a motorcycle. Now, we have an old motorcycle, and we are going to, the request is to trade it in and get someone else's used motorcycle, which has different functionality than the one we have. The police commission did not have any issues with that. Anything else?
No,
Just wanted to make the council aware.
No, correct, and it's actually safer and better use for the police motorcycle that they have.
Okay,
So that's good.
so if anyone had any questions, I'd bring it back, but if not,
Yeah, that's something we're looking to do yet, the unit that we have.
he's gonna come.
It was like a 4K difference, right?
Yes, correct.
He's gonna sell the existing bike that we have, and, I don't know, he's coming back to us.
Correct.
So I just want to let you guys know that's coming.
Any other questions about resolutions?
So, you're selling a motorcycle?
We own, one type of motorcycle, I'm sorry, I don't know specifics of motorcycle, Jimmy, do you wanna?
Yeah, if I may.
More details on motorcycle types? 'Cause
So
I
we
know
currently,
types, 'cause
so
I
we
don't.
currently have a police motorcycle of a certain value. And the request from the chief is to purchase a used police motorcycle that is an upgrade from this current motorcycle that's safer and better functionality for police use. And so there's a difference in cost, roughly $4,000.
Okay, just keeping them to their certain piece of cost and nice about whenever you're doing it, equipment to be surplus, and obviously for being able to try and use vehicles. Certain.
Okay.
You wanna let-
Yeah, he was
you wanna
seeking
let
more
Chief
info.
know?
Mhm.
And somebody just talked to me about the escrow agreement
Which one, which resolution?
Adani Property Group. There's no issues on that, right? That's already approved.
What do you mean issues?
Well, no, no,
I mean,
no, no.
half of the,
It's a study, the property owner is looking to get feedback, and so,
oh, okay, okay,
it's.
I
an escrow
understand now.
for your cover the cost of the review from the engineer.
okay. I didn't know at what stage it was in, so that's good.
This is the first stage.
There you go.
Okay, any other questions on the
Just-
resolutions? Go ahead, Jeff, please.
Since Councilmember Dayton brought up D, just so I understand the difference between D and E.
Yeah.
Because they look awfully similar. Are we getting two vehicles or what is the
Police vehicles?
Yeah.
D and E?
So I know one of the police vehicles, I believe, is being purchased through operating and the capital budget, and then there is one just being purchased through operating.
Remember how we used to do it? We did that, we purchased the
Car.
And then
Cars.
the outfitting for it.
And then all the
And the lights and radios.
That's not, but that's not what it looks like when I look at
But
the attachment.
there's two vehicles being purchased. It's not the upfitting of the vehicles, it's just the straight purchasing of the vehicles. One is being done through one account and the other one is a combined account.
Can I get our CFO, Susan?
Is the question whether it's in the budget? Is that Jeff? what you're
That's
getting at?
not my question. What's the difference?
Oh,
We're
okay.
purchasing two, one's part.
Susan, would you
Operating
mind
budget.
stepping up to the microphone,
It
please?
looks like the exact same thing, so I just want to clarify.
It
I know
is,
it's two vehicles, they are different, and it's different now. So.
it's resolution 360 and then 361.
So, this is the question, they're in the capital budget, and there are some vehicles that are similar when we make purchases. And
Yeah, it says purchase of vehicle is one and purchase of equipment for new vehicle. So Adam is correct here.
But when
should
I'm
be the
looking
outfit.
at the attachment, that's not what I'm seeing.
I think they're
Hold on,
exactly
the
the
second
same.
one,
I think we raised
Yeah.
the 61,
yeah, I think
that's
it's.
some of the wrong stuff.
Correct.
That's
there you go.
my concern.
I-
So
So that's Omar did-
This is 360.
See this? That's what we're not doing.
I think Omar just has to attach the equipment of
Those-
these
Those are
vehicles.
the two attachments I received for both resolutions.
Okay.
It is two different two different vehicles from two different years. What I don't remember is,
Yeah, no,
and I have to go back to my office to look.
they're the same.
They're not exactly the
I mean,
same.
it's a different, one's the purchase of the car itself and one's the purchase of the outfitting to make it a
I'll have to
police
go
car.
back and look. It is two different years though. So. I just do that.
Because the attachments are the-
Yeah, I
were the
remember
same.
we looked at this. So far, I did look at it. And questions and things. The numbers could be the same, and it's just two different vehicles. and two different
But
years.
Wait, I thought it was the equipment for
Just
one
have to
vehicle.
go back and take a look.
No, it's
Go
not
back.
up there. Okay.
It's not outfitting. Okay, so then,
Sometimes we do upfitting.
then it has the wrong title on the agenda. We'll pull
So
it.
we're just gonna pull.
Okay,
All right.
I'm gonna pull.
22-360 and 361.
I'm gonna pull 361. Right? So we're gonna pull R 22-361.
I would just wait for 360
Yeah,
also.
360.
Make sure we get it all in.
We
why
can
don't we
do
pull
that.
both?
That's fine.
If it's on.
Both even refer to the same resolution of from 2017 of 17-66.
Okay. All right, other questions about the resolutions? All right,
I will say, we have, I was supposed to say, we have a repair and maintenance of police vehicles on this. And this past weekend, of course, was coffee and cars and cops at the Evangelique, excuse me if I'm saying the name wrong. But one of the things that was on our property, which was really fantastic, was an electric police vehicle. And a lot of the,
Prosecutors.
yeah, they brought it over. It was outfitted. It was beautiful. The, some of the police officers that I spoke with were very excited about it. So just something to look into for the future. I'd love to see if there's a grant on that.
Not until the state puts it on their list.
Okay, any other questions about resolutions? Any questions about the public hearing? All right, any questions about the minutes? Okay, we're gonna jump right ahead for the good of the order. So I put both of these items down. The first one is speed bumps. The police chief and the administrator and I we've had a couple of conversations. We've gotten some input from residents requesting speed bumps on Engle Street and Tenafly Road. And the process of speed bump, whether, the police chief has to do his studying if the council wants to move forward with this. So no homework is done in terms of details yet. But, speed bumps or not, you don't go out there in the street with, heavy plastic speed bumps and attach them to chains on the side of the road. They require construction in the street. And they're it's a major effort. And so the question to the council is, do you want us to pursue investigating this for Angle Street and Tenafly Road? There's been in different spots, traffic accidents, and on Tenafly Road, it's near the school. So the street is very wide. And so cars are moving at a fast rate, during school drop off and pick up. And so the concerns are being raised about this topic. And of course, the speed bumps would slow the traffic down. Speed bumps also slow the traffic down when there's nobody there and there's no one crossing the street. So it's a 24/7 thing. Julie and then Lauren.
So there's, in my mind, I know the area really well. It's not that far from us, but I don't think there's a problem I would have with saying that he should go investigate it, right? So because obviously you're responding to some residents in that area and it's become enough. I'm guessing it's more than one person who's come up to you. So I think it would be remiss for us not to at least have our officer go out and investigate it himself. And he could come back either way saying, I know he used to, before he was chief, he used to be head of traffic, so he knows what he's talking about.
Okay. Lauren, Jeff.
So, Mayor Rustin used to say unintended consequences. This is the key example of an unintended consequence. You slow down traffic, but you create noise. And what people don't realize is that speed bumps are incredibly loud. So for those residents who actually want to slow down traffic with a speed bump, what they're doing with the speed bumps right near their homes is creating sound that generates into their home, ba-bum, 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 whatever it is, the car going over. When I've studied some of the traffic stuff, because I was working on things for River Edge Road, everyone I spoke to about speed bumps advised me to think very long and clear on who's going to be hearing the noise of the speed bump. So I'm not for speed bumps. I don't think I would like to hear those noises. I live off of Angle. It would drive me crazy to hear that all night and all day. And I'm home and I work from home. So I'm a hard no on that, but I defer to the chief if he wants to investigate it, but I don't think I'd vote it in.
Jeff.
I'm sure the chief will do this, but he should be mindful of talking to TVAC and the fire department,
Right.
because I think it's great to slow traffic down and save potential accidents, injuries. I don't want to delay emergency responses by those vehicles. Now, I know Englewood has a lot of speed bumps, but interestingly enough, none of them are on Engle or D.
That's correct.
They're main thoroughfares.
Yep.
They're more on
Back streets.
like Lydecker and
Yep.
Mhm.
The one that goes
Grand.
uphill.
And,
The one off Lydecker. that
yeah, and
goes
the
up.
one that goes
Yeah.
uphill and over by their school. So they are all on side roads. And so it'd be interesting to see what their thought process was in keeping them off the main thoroughfares.
Dan,
You should speak with Andy because there's other.
speak with who?
Andy, because there's other alternatives, ways to make, you can slow down traffic and.
With Andy Hippolyte, you mean?
Yes, correct. And we got league in a few weeks and there's gonna be a table with,
But
Julie?
my whole thing is a governing,
no, what's that thing called?
Not
By
Friday?
schools, the grant, safe
Safe
streets.
Streets.
yes.
Yeah.
Jerry
Safe
from,
routes to school.
Jerry
Yeah.
from Safe Streets has tons of alternate options. Even he doesn't like speed bumps.
Go ahead, Julie.
So now my whole thing is a
Nobody likes
governing
speed bumps.
body, though. It's like, it would be most responsible, though, to be responsive to the people who live around the area and then pursue. I just don't see how we wouldn't have the chief pursue this topic.
So does it make sense? We'll have the chief look at it, but
Yeah.
let's widen the search for all different types of alternatives to,
Right.
okay? All right, Jimmy? We'll do that. Okay, thank you, everyone. The second item is Froggy Park. We have a broken piece of equipment in Froggy Park. It's the, I forgot what you call
The
them.
spinner.
The spinners, the kids jump on it, you spin around, go in circles, go flying. I remember it was a lot of fun. When I was a kid, they were all metal. So, you know, get your foot caught, but now they're a lot safer. Michael Cassidy has said it's about $11,000 to replace that piece of equipment. All the playground equipment's very expensive. No one's gone out to get quotes or anything. He's just off the cuff. That's what he believes it is. There is some money in the budget. We haven't really done all the homework on, is there enough to put the money together? I think, couldn't we, if the council wanted to, use open space money to fix that, to repair that, I mean, to replace it? Because it's for a park, right, Counselor? So does the council want to investigate this? Lauren, please?
So this is something, obviously, I am constantly asking for is an upgrade in our playgrounds. This piece of equipment has been replaced with the same type of spinner already. We actually spent the money, bought a new one, installed it. I would like to recommend a different type of playground equipment. You know, you heard me in a previous meeting, put out some different types of climbers and more inclusionary playground equipment for our community. This is right in the center of our community. I'd love to get something like that. Jimmy has some pricing from the company we use, and it ranges somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000-$16,000, depending on how big of a piece you want to replace it with. I would love to see some options from Game Time or whoever, at whatever vendor we typically use. There's,
Something that fits within
Jamie picks it. Yeah, Jamie's who gave me the company.
Right, so the first is, you know, does the council want to move forward on doing something there? Then we'll include all the different.
Yeah.
Correct, but,
It's
okay,
just-
so
it's just taped
that's
off.
what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a bunch of yeses. Yes, go ahead. Vinod.
Does this have to be done prior to budget?
Well, it's a small piece of equipment and it's broken and it's not safe, so it
Yeah,
should be
but if-
replaced.
But if we're doing a reevaluation,
Sure.
then shouldn't that be part of the budget process rather than?
Open space is outside the budget.
Yeah, it's outside the budget.
I understand that open space is
Right.
outside of it, but, shouldn't.
You know, I'm proposing we do it now because it's broken and it's a very popular park. And if we have the resources to do it, let's look at it and find out what the story is.
Mayor, if I may,
Yes, please.
there is a little bit of remaining funds in a capital account that could be used for this. So, I mean, again, talking about, I forget exactly, between $5,000 and $7,000.
And I put in for
So-
playground equipment years ago.
Yes, right.
Some
That's what I
remaining.
knew. I was gonna say, I didn't think it was all about open space. I thought that there was some
And that's in
fund.
capital, so.
Julie,
Right.
Every year in budget, I ask for a little bit.
Yeah.
And it grows.
All right, so it sounds like we have a
Yes.
general consensus to do the homework. Let's speak to recreation, find out the different options of the equipment, then we'll come back to the council with the presentation.
Okay, so get the recommendations for replacing.
Correct.
And I
Correct.
just want to say there are pieces that actually are froggy climbers, hence Froggy Park. Just throwing it out there. There's like a huge frog climber.
I'd be provocative again. Again, I don't think anyone around this table is an expert in recreation activity. If you hire someone full-time, to be an expert in recreation, I wouldn't, again, take another 7 meetings. I would have a meeting from council, make a recommendation, bring that recommendation forward as this is a piece of what we want. Have Susan look at it and say, great, make up these numbers, 50% of it is already in we've already
We have it.
budgeted for it. And if there needs to be extra, do the rest out of open space and make that recommendation such that we can take an action immediately after.
Mhm.
I'm not. an
And
expert.
the park is back to normal.
Okay, hold on, Julie. Julie's next. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Mayor, can I just add something to, for the good of the order, just for your,
You're going to ask about this
Um,
recreation equipment?
no,
All right, so let's close the recreation. You want to,
add one more thing to the, for the good of the
Okay,
order, but we're
yes.
done with
Okay,
this.
so
part, yeah.
so it sounds like you have direction on the recreation discussion, speak with recreation.
Yep.
And come back to the council. Okay,
So just since a lot of these topics have been about safety, I know it's a whole year away, but I wanted to just ask that perhaps you could put for a year from now in your mayor's message, something about Halloween safety, because it gets dark early and the kids in town like are not wearing the reflectors. They're not, like, I had a ton of trick or treaters and they're not wearing the neon stuff. And I just thought that it might be a good thing to do that type of push, the
We
way
can do
you've done
that.
it. People are like, speed down the street anyway. We always talk, they have to yield to pedestrians when it's not Halloween, but I just think we need to remind kids and parents to buy those neon reflectors. It's, very dark and you can't see the kids. So.
okay, thank you.
Can I just say, Julie?
Yes, please.
So if you were in Todd, our chief was handing those out. He was great. My kids got covered in them. He handed out bracelets, necklaces, he handed out glow sticks. So I think our police department, like if you found a policeman, we're handing, but not in your corner, obviously.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
my own Cotswolds. My, yeah, my,
It's a good decoration. It's a good decoration, right?
my house is, I don't go,
All right.
it's my house.
So I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn, but before that, why don't we take a 5-minute break in between meetings, if everyone's okay with that?
Yes.
So could I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. What time is it, Omar?
8:30. I completely forgot what it was.
So 8:35.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, Jesus. I looked at Sue and it was for her. What is wrong with me?
Just personnel stuff?
Motorcycles, speed bumps, it wasn't that. Frozen Park, it wasn't that. God bloody damn. No, that's, I'm not worried about that at all.
And I have a good check. Get this and like,
Since I looked over at you and I had a question, and I forgot.
And one of the good things about this kind of is you should get different able to get us. But right before you have to go to that actually. And then wheelchair accessible. You know that? You just like wheelchair accessible. Right on even if it's extra shifts. And then look at now. I did like. But this would be. And more, especially the picture of Walmart. Walmart looks like. And now this one.
I didn't want to.
And now just that was there. This is what I brought up to the. Well, I was like.
Yeah. That was a good one. Yeah.
Want to get up and.
Yeah, yeah. That's fine. I know.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Like yours, yes, or something. No, but it's okay. Yeah. Maybe I didn't communicate it, but I thought I was.
No,
I tried.
Like you're on the corner now.
I
No,
tried.
so maybe it's.
I tried.
You ready? Okay. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. The meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the municipal center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Salute to the flag, please. Omar, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Dayton.
Here.
Councilmember Grossman.
Here.
Councilmember Menon.
Here.
Councilmember Michaels. Councilmember Dr. O'Connor.
Here.
Councilmember Park. Here. Mayor Sena.
Here. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of July 18th, 2022, the regular meeting, and July 20th, 2022, the regular meeting,
Just
October.
just
October.
October 20, 2022, excuse me.
Just, yes, I'll make the motion if we can clean up some of the grammar. I was reading even my own comments, and I know I do not speak that way.
And
even
which
when-
one? The 20th?
I think it was the 20th.
So a motion as amended, as edited.
Just-
I would just say that if it needs to be edited, just do not adopt it tonight, but we could edit it and then adopt it, because that's too vague of a.
Yeah, so let me see, make sure it's that, because I had read both of them. It may have been the other.
Any of it change the intention of what we were trying to say?
Grammar could.
When it comes to grammar,
Yep.
you can always reread things different ways. And
Or situation.
yeah, it was, Councilman Grossman expressed that the Clinton has the deteriorated and watch revenues fall.
Which one are you in?
That's the July.
Okay, so let's pull the July.
Added that assist living is great. I'm sorry, but I at least read my own comments. I can't speak for all of you, but just if we can.
Okay, so let's have a motion on approving October 20th, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Wait, was I at this one?
July 20th.
Omar, who's
Yeah,
available?
why am I not listed? Hold on.
July 20th.
I was there.
That's
No, on October 20th.
October 20th.
You keep forgetting I'm present, Omar. I'm not listed.
That's a.
Especially since you seconded the minutes at that meeting, I can assume you were.
Oh,
Okay, so I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Revisions to the agenda, please.
Yes, Mayor, we're going to have resolution R 22-360 and 22-361 pulled from the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Any other changes? No? All right, public comment time. Audience members wishing to speak will have a 3-minute time limit to address the governing body. Large groups are asked to have a spokesperson represent them. Would anyone from the public like to speak in the council chambers here? Okay, seeing no hands raised, we'll move on to on Zoom. Omar, is there anyone with a hand raised that would like to speak?
I don't know how to raise my hand, sorry.
Okay, we can hear you though. Just give us your name and address, Christine.
Christine Evron, 39 Leroy Street. First, during the work session public comments in the middle of Andrew McKesh's speech until Omar got up, there was no broadcast of what was going on. If anybody would care to recap that. Second recap for the ordinance. Is it possible to talk in a little bit more detail about exactly what this engineering money is going towards at some point? And third, for the speed bumps on Engle Street, I live on Leroy, pushing the traffic up on Leroy, which is where kids walk along Leroy to school, and in the road, is probably a really, really bad idea. If you want us, I use some other method of slowing down traffic on Engle, but speed bumps will definitely push people up onto Leroy. That's it.
Thank you, Christine. Any other members of the public out there, Omar, on in Zoom, who hands raised?
See no hands raised, Mayor.
Okay, so we're going to close public comment time. Could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended to include resolutions R 22-357 through R 22-359 and R 22-362 through R 22-369?
so moved.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Omar, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon, Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the public hearing. For this, right? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to just, it's on your, so I'll ask you to summarize it, okay? So let's do that now. This is ordinance 22-23 to appropriate funds from the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds Program. A question was raised to summarize some of the engineering topics. So I've asked our borough attorney just to give a quick summary of those topics to answer that question.
Okay, great, thank you. So the governing body authorized using a competitive contracting RFP process on this. And so I do have the list from the scope of work, which is probably the best way to say exactly what this would cover, since the appropriation would be to fund a contract with an engineering consultant to do this work. So the scope of work would include traffic counts and modeling of traffic patterns to include traffic counts at 14 intersections, development of an existing condition model, development of 3 future model scenarios, crash analysis, preparation of traffic report and summary finding. The next item is improvement and upgrades for identified intersections within a plan. And this is all for the Piermont Road and surrounding area in downtown. So that would investigate the need for fully signalized intersection at East Clinton and Dean, which is a signal warrant study, conceptualize plans and cost estimates for the improvements at 3 intersections along County Road and an additional intersection of Dean and East Clinton, and provide recommendations and cost estimates of potential sidewalk upgrades for the surrounding intersections. 3, study potential closure of Piermont Road at Hyler Park West, including cost estimates and plan for the closure of the intersection, including the proposed signal timings and infrastructure improvements, which may include a new signal for cars exiting the parking area, et cetera. Then there's the study of the potential closure of Piermont Road at the bus stop, identify necessary roadway and signal changes, and prepare engineering drawings with cost estimates for such implementation. 5 is the conversion of Piermont Road to two-way traffic, study the potential to convert Piermont Road north of River Edge to two-way operation, conduct traffic impact analysis, provide recommendations for traffic controls at Piermont and West Railroad Avenue, provide cost estimates for bump outs to make crossings safer, and at River Edge Road, mobility enhancements to study both short-term and long-term solutions to make the stretch of River Edge Road from Jefferson Avenue to West Railroad Avenue safer for all users, concepts and cost estimates for pedestrian crossing enhancements, concept and cost estimates for bicycle safety enhancements, concepts and cost estimates for redesign of road to accommodate new features. And all of these scope of work items, Mayor and Council and public, came from the BFJ study of the implementation of what they call the Piermont Road Corridor Study.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Omar, can you please read the confirmation of publication of the ordinance and the title of the ordinance?
Sure, Mayor. It is okay. Ordinance number 22-23. It was published in the Friday edition of the record of October 30th. It is an ordinance appropriating funds received from the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds program to provide various capital improvements in the borough of Tenafly.
Omar, did you record the right ordinance number when you started there?
Yes.
I wasn't listening correctly. And
Yes.
It's ordinance number what?
22-23.
22-23. I'm sorry, I misheard that. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to open the floor for any public comments on ordinance 22-23. Anyone from the public here in the chambers like to speak on this topic? Nope, seeing and hearing none speaking. Anyone out on Zoom that would like to speak, please? Just raise your hand or
Guess
speak
what?
and give us your name.
Christine
You still live at
Evron.
39 Leroy Street?
I do. I have not moved in the last 5 minutes,
All
despite my
right, but
husband's
just give us your
desires.
name. Give us your name and address for the records, Christine.
Christine Evron, 39 Leroy Street. The BJF study was a laundry list of every project proposed in the last 20 years, which was a great thing to know. I think that the council can exercise some judgment because we have a very limited budget from the American Rescue Plan. We can't pay for all of this. So it doesn't seem to me at all wise to be paying for engineering studies that we know we can't afford. We do know that we need to upgrade and modernize, say, the light at Washington Railroad and Piermont. That alone will spend half the American Rescue money if you don't spend it all in studies. You can put in a light there that uses cameras to check for traffic, that can be programmed from the police station. So if in the future you should block off Hyler Park as a parking lot or the rest of Piermont as a park, whatever you might choose to do, you can reprogram it from the police station. You do not need to have an engineering study for the entire kit and caboodle. Just replace that one light. And that spends half of your American Rescue money with something we've wanted to do for 20 years. You could pick another light that you think is really important. And I think the council just walking around, coming to a consensus and picking one is going to be a lot cheaper in the long run. Making Piermont two-way, dumping all the traffic coming down Piermont into River Edge by Mr. Walk in a very confusing intersection can't be safe. Yes, it might have been okay several years ago, but we have a very confusing junction there. Spending money on a traffic study is something you ought to be able to look at and say, even if we had infinite money to go and re-engineer this, we don't need to do it right now. I just think you can use a lot more judgment on the council's part to pare this down. $150,000 at a preliminary stage using 10% of our money is not the best use of our money. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Is there anyone else out on Zoom who would like to speak? Oh, Marty, do you see anyone?
It's no other hands, Mayor.
Okay, we're going to close public comment time. Councilman Michaels, would you like to make the motion, please? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yes.
All right, so I voted against the ordinance the first time, and I've done a little more looking in, including the list that was just read by our council. Here's my concern. First of all, it becomes a misleading number. Even Ms. Everon was saying 150,000. That's actually not the number. The number is 210,000. This is an allocation of 150,000 in addition to 60 that was already earmarked for engineering. So that comes out to 210. We had in April 26 agreed to 90,000 plus 60 for a total of 150. That seemed like a reasonable number. I understand bids came in a little higher. We had the same dilemma when we were going after the initial bids for downtown revitalization. They came in higher. All the bidders were apparently informed that they were above, that the number was 100,000 that we had allocated, and at least one, if not more, came down to the number we were looking at. So I don't see why we're so quick to add to this. The other thing is, in that scope of work, I understand concepts mean that they are not final drawing plans. These are far from final drawing plans. In addition to which, and I know Councilmember Dayton had expressed this at the last meeting about this is a good deal for 11 different projects. It would be if it include everything that those other engineers include in their number, which is day-to-day oversight, final review, all of those things which are not included in this. So you're looking probably at another $200,000 of engineering costs in addition to this. So I don't want to go above what we've already spent unless this were the final, these guys are going to be there and handhold the entire process, then it would be a great deal. But that's not what we're getting here. We're being asked for 210,000, which then out of 1.5 million, in addition to, we had 100,000 for the initial study. So we're already $350,000 into the downtown plan with a lot more engineering still to come. I think we really do need to look at holding to our original number. I'm sure an engineer firm will be more than happy to accommodate it without us throwing more money at them. And so for that reason, I continue to oppose this number. I don't oppose the concept. I oppose this particular threshold is just getting up there. If it, again, if it were the final engineering, I would be great with it, but it's far from that.
Comments from other council members? Okay, Councilman Michaels, would you like to make a motion, please?
I move to pass and adopt on second and final reading ordinance 22-23, and that notice of the same shall be published according to law.
Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Councilmember Dayton?
Yeah.
Councilmember Bossman?
No.
Councilmember Minnick?
No.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Committee reports. Then, Councilman Park, we'll start with you this time.
Just that Zayden finished up the garden, so guys, go check it out in person. It's really nice what he did. Just go in person. It's insane. And that's it.
Okay. Councilman.
The planning board met last week. One of the proposals dealt with, I'll call it the old friendly site because they were calling it that. I know there have been other places there. There was a whole presentation. What is proposed is for a doctor's office to come in there and make that a two-story. And so the only thing they really needed was approval for parking. And ultimately, it looks like they only needed approval for one spot. So that was really not a problem. So we will be having a doctor's office that actually specializes in high-risk pregnancies. They're going to build the same footprint, but they're going to have a second story. The first story will be, I guess, public record, which doctor, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
Dr.
public, yeah, absolutely.
Sapphire, who right now is located in Englewood across Hudson from Temple Sinai. He'll
He's the
take
corner house, that little white.
corner house. He'll take the first floor and will rent out the second floor. They're going to have electric vehicle spaces, so they do get credit for some parking there. The movie theater was approved, so subject to some discussion with the HPC on a couple of items dealing with the front appearance, what type of material, for example, and some things about the cornice at the top. So that leads to my next report, which was the very next night. HPC met, and much to the credit of the owner and the architect, they were there to have a really good discussion. And they're not all set, but the way they've done is it will be an ongoing discussion as they look at materials, final designs, because right now they're in, to use the term we use with the engineers, concept is far from final. So as they get to that, they will be looking at working together, and my thanks to the owner, Yoav, who brought his architect, Chris Blake, and they really were very good at the discussion. And that was, yes.
Parking situation for
Mhm.
the apartment building proposed there. So what was the
It's an
final
office, not an apartment.
with the theater?
Oh, it's the theater, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
What was the final discussion on the parking requirements for that apartment building?
So they're going to be off-site. They've got some on-site. I forget the exact number. I don't have that from you.
Is it 16? I want 16 or 19 on site.
16, I think, on-site and 5 or something
Off-site,
off-site.
On the
Now-
roof? Where are they parking? Underneath?
Underneath, it's going to be an overhang in the back. Actually, that will have to come to this body because some of the overhang is over borough property, and they will have to come to plans.
And the culvert underneath there?
So the culvert, they're saying that engineering, they will be able to work around the culvert that's in the basement. We suggested they might have a steam room or pool down there in the basement, but that is more of a joke. That is not serious.
Culvert for-
I will, since you brought up, I will say I was the lone vote against the project, not because of the discussions with HPC not having taken part, as one person on the planning board afterwards said, you got what you wanted. For me, it's about the 4 stories, and it is something for us as the council to think about. Consistently, the district on Washington and on Railroad have been approved by this council, recommended time and time again by the planning board to have 1 of commercial, 2 residential floors. This being 4 stories makes it 3 residential floors, which to the point of parking means that whatever we've been conceiving, the planning board is willing to make it 50% more. So if we have a problem of trying to find 10 spots, now it's trying to find 15 spots.
This is one of 3 new buildings,
Just in the last couple of months.
3 new apartment buildings, same issue.
Well, I will say, so no, one was not 4 stories, it was 3. The other was 4 stories, and I will say I voted for that one because, and I know I don't have to explain my vote, but the reason is important. their third and fourth floor was a duplex. So it wasn't as if you had two
Apartments
different
this way, apartments this way.
apartments. It was one apartment on covering two floors type of a thing. So it did keep the number of apartments down. I wasn't thrilled, but at least I want to be consistent in my argument that when you start increasing, and everybody who comes in with these projects says, well, I have a temporary lease. I'm working with someone to accommodate parking until the council solves it. And I have reiterated that the council may or may not solve it.
No guarantees.
No guarantees, and that's kind of a caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. They know what they're buying. They know what the current law is, and if it's gonna increase 50%, then what we even anticipate, I will say that will continue to be a mounting problem.
Yes.
That's,
Can I ask one other question?
I know I won't be on the scope of the report.
No, but I'm very interested in this, in the theater and the facade of our town behind our historical railroad station. And I actually went to, so everyone knows, and I made a comment at the public hearing in one of the planning board meetings with this concern as a resident. But I will say, I thought there was a rule that anything within 200 feet of a historical designated property had to be in coordination is the wrong word.
It couldn't disrupt the view in a sense. That came up when there was a cell tower proposed on,
Rounding House.
no, Franklin, behind the plumbing.
Oh, interesting.
And that came up as an issue that the area by Serpentine, which is a historic district, would have its view encumbered by that.
I'm in that district.
So there is, and this should have gone to HPC for review. HPC then did have the chance to wait. That's why I was very insistent that they do, even if it's post facto. What we really should consider as a council is amending things that anything on the county list, which the theater was, that before there's even internal demolition, that at least the HPC be notified, because they didn't know that it had been totally demolished inside. They were never informed. And it's just like us. We do not get all that information from building. We didn't even know there was a gun shop until after the fact. So with them, it's the same thing with the internal.
If we're asking the HPC to weigh in on this building, since they're all in the line of sight behind our railroad, shouldn't they weigh in on the other two proposals?
They actually, on the apothecary,
They did,
that's the one with the column, they had a
It was a
ton of
negotiated
opportunity.
situation. Yep.
I don't remember the other.
Third?
The third was Lazara's one.
I
No,
don't think they had an opportunity.
I
And
would-
should.
I
You're-
would
you're
like
right.
to request that they have that opportunity, HPC have the opportunity at this point.
well,
That's
that's,
directly behind our,
that Lazara thing was a done deal.
but this is a rule with historic property. So how does that work?
That's a,
So it should be part of the building checklist as to the impacts, and that's where.
right, that's a legal question though about what's the situation.
Sorry.
But yes, I agree.
All right, so what else, Jeff?
That, I think I've
Covered it all?
more than used my report time.
Okay. Councilwoman Dayton?
Obviously, I'm very interested in seeing what our downtown will look like and feel like. And, you know, I'm excited for development. At the same time, I do want to make sure, you know, we don't have some crazy outlier stuff behind our historic site. That should be our priority, obviously. So I am very thrilled. We have our new senior services coordinator, Risa, is going to come to a future meeting, but let me tell you, she's up and running. She's been doing a wonderful job with many homebound seniors. She's been receiving calls from families who have loved ones within our town. She's been receiving calls from neighbors who are concerned about their neighbors. And our senior services committee is thrilled with her. I just want to put it out there. And so one of the things the senior services committee is working on is what's next. You know, obviously now we have a wonderful new senior coordinator, and we are working on our age-friendly grant and designation. But what they want to do is next. So I had bumped this idea around ages ago, something called donation days. One of the big issues that we have with many of our homebound is that they are not physically or mentally able to clean out their own homes. So we have hoarding situations, not many, but they're there. And we have, seniors who cannot, go through all of their stuff and parse it down or decide to give away things. And what happens is obviously, eventually someone has to do it. So we were trying to find a way to fund, and the state and the county both have resources to bring people in, but they cost money. So we were trying to find a way to fund maybe some professional declutterers is what we're calling them. And so we're looking into that. Actually, that's a great grant thing I'd love to see if there's any services there. But so for donation days, what we want to do is make 2 days a year before tax period in the spring, get a tax receipt for donations, and sometime in the fall, spring and fall cleanouts, where we can coordinate trucks such as, something like a Habitat for Humanity for furniture, or the Salvation Army, or, veterans for household goods and clothes, where we can assist in a professional decluttering of our really homebound seniors and help them clean up their space. So I thought that was a really nice concept that was bounced around in that meeting. I wanted to share it with anyone. If anyone has any ideas, Dan, especially over at the county, I'd love to hear about that. And as I will say, as we bring in the new facility over on Dean Drive, which is our Alzheimer's facility, this might be a very good way to start bringing in services, more professional services that we know of, and try them out before that place opens. And, there's needs of our residents, of those future residents. Then, let's see. The nature center met. I said there's a new board, and the police commission met. Just for a second, I just want to talk about the police commission. The chief is interested in possibly, this is a open, yeah, and just making sure, possibly bringing on a new, that's the wrong word, what is it? Academy level.
Still in office.
I'm not mentioning that. And looking in now, he said he had such good, strong candidates. And, we have 2 new academy, and he's looking to start the process for the next academy member. So that's going to come to us probably with HR through Alicia, but I just want everyone to be aware. Anything else on police commission?
No, I
Or
think
anyone else?
that's the major.
Motorcycle and. That's it.
Councilman Mena, please.
So just one committee report for senior center. We had a meeting last week. And just a couple of items. They talked about the membership, and they said that they have pretty good levels for the year. It's up to almost 500. They said so. It's really, it's back to probably not back to pre-pandemic, but it's great.
Great.
And then they had a pancake breakfast this past weekend. And
Pancakes were great.
They were really good.
They were really good.
They have a trip coming up on Broadway to see A Beautiful Life. I forget which.
Neil Diamond.
Neil Diamond. Right? Okay, so that's pretty much. I think it's full almost.
Great.
And then they, of course, had a discussion about the senior center and just kind of getting an understanding of what the ask is and what that sort of thing. Just kind of tossing that around. So there's and I'm sure they'll come to a future meeting that we have and discuss it in more detail. So that's why I want to do so here. But yeah, otherwise, there are just activities that are constantly looked at for this month. And constantly thinking of activities. So it's I'm sure things coming up before Thanksgiving, before Christmas. Here and everything. If anybody if anybody would like to reach out and find out what activities are going on, please reach out to Michelle Howard. Who's the second manager.
Thank you. Is that it? Thank you. Councilman Michaels.
Yeah, just super quick, big thank you and congratulations to Jamie Cannon and the rec team. On Friday, we had our Halloween scare-a-thon of sorts over at Roosevelt Commons. Actually over 500 people, so this is the biggest yet we've had. Big thank you to Orly Chen Realty. They actually donated all the pumpkins. I think we got 200 pumpkins.
Wow.
So huge thank you there. So super awesome. Also had our first teen Halloween event. So they oversubscribed. They could fit 50 people. And that was really well done. Teen Center continues to get more and more excitement. They specifically asked for more events. So it's just really great that teams put that together. So just huge thank you to everybody there.
Thank you. Councilwoman Dr. O'Connor.
Yeah, so the Environmental Commission and the Health Department, they did not meet, so I don't have any committee reports, but I just had one personal thing to say because you're talking about the police. I wanted to compliment, I had an interaction on Saturday afternoon. I saw a stray dog wandering around and called, and the police came right away and took the dog, and we're gonna call the shelter and see if they could find, if anyone owned the dog. So I wanted to say they're very responsive, and I was very pleased with our police. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next item on the, yes, no, go ahead, please.
Skipped over one briefly. TVAC met. I was not able to make that meeting out of conflict, but I did want to bring to the council's attention that one of their 2 rigs has been having major problems.
Yes.
The big one.
The big one.
This is a different one that a couple of months ago.
This is,
they fixed the electronics.
It is the
Unit
same
42.
one.
Same one.
Yes.
Same
Rig
one.
42.
And the same problem arose that they were responding to call and it literally stopped ringing in the middle of the block. Fortunately, no one hurt, no,
Also service.
well, also no body being transported in there, which was super.
So we've
important.
taken that rig out of service
So we've
completely.
taken that rig out of service. So right now we're operating with one. I'm sorry, I forgot that.
No problem. Of course, we need to know. Okay, go
Mayor,
ahead.
if I may, on that subject, I do believe the TPAC captain is working with the finance department and maybe making a request to replace him this upcoming year.
Grant opportunity.
Of course.
Okay, next item on the agenda, introduction of ordinance. Okay. Pardon me? 22-24. Wait, so let me start. Okay. So 22-24 amendment to noise control regulations. Go ahead.
So just a quick explanation, because the council knows last year they did pass an updated noise ordinance. Through your clerk's steadfast follow-up, because it does have to be approved by DEP in order to be effective. We finally got a response to which they asked for a tweak, and that's the ordinance that's on now. So your ordinance from 21 was conditionally approved until you if you adopt this ordinance, then it'll be approved.
Any questions from the
Dave,
council?
The question was what the tweak was.
What's the tweak?
So the tweak was to remove the words public service facilities.
Okay.
For-
I'm really looking at it on the
That
screen.
it's
I
the
just wanna
only
make sure that was
change,
it.
it's in 3 parts,
Okay.
in the applicability in A and B, and then it's in a chart.
Okay.
And that's the only change.
Councilman Menon?
So, I mean, you have community service facilities next to it. Was that would that have been number 4?
So the numbers will move, yes.
So public service facilities is 3, community services.
Right, so that's why,
So it wasn't being replaced.
no. The public services is being deleted.
Why?
Last a letter saying it's conditionally approved, just remove public service facilities. I think likely it's because you don't necessarily want the public service facilities if you have, let's say, a generator running on the Richard Street pump station.
Yeah.
The noise that emanates may not always fit with the time if it's an emergency service. So that's why I believe that they took that out.
Is that something that we should parse out into different service facility activities? Because there are certain activities where they go out into the community. For example, leaf collection, ends up being.
So it's not services, it's facilities.
Got it.
So it's only
But-
station.
But do we need to include that?
So those types of trucks and equipment would be the same as your garbage trucks or even as the services for lawn maintenance, whatnot. There are timeframes and there's decibel levels, which it'll comply with, that should comply with. This is just public service facilities.
No, but is that in this noise ordinance?
It's in the one that you adopted in 21, since that was already codified and the approval of the state as far as for enforcement purposes. This is purely the amendment, only showing the amendment.
Any other questions from council members? No? Okay, Councilman Park, would you like to make a motion,
I
please?
move to introduce and pass on first reading ordinance 22-24 and set the hearing for November 14th, 2022 at 8 PM or as soon thereafter.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, who said the second first? Okay. Omar, could you please read the title of the ordinance and conduct a roll call?
Sure. Ordinance number 22-24, an ordinance amending chapter 3, Borough Regulations, section 2, noise control of the revised general ordinances. Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay. The Mayor's remarks, it's just really a discussion item I want to bring up. I know we're trying to, since we're all together here, schedule a meeting with the library, senior center, rec department to talk about, facilities. And so I want to get a sense from the council when we can do this meeting. We put a couple of dates out there. There's been a lot of, it's been difficult because of this time of the year.
Listening center, you already have a meeting.
No, it's not. We don't have we don't have a quorum. No quorum has responded.
I already responded, I'm not available on the 21st. I have parent-teacher conferences, which I'm contractually obligated to attend and enjoy attending. And also, I would just ask that when we schedule this, that the three main groups all be at the same, at least present.
That's
at
what we're
the
trying to
same
do.
time,
Yes.
So that they hear each other.
Yeah, my comment would be, this is actually not for the council, this is for the three groups to speak, and share their points of view with the engineer.
Right,
Other people want to attend, that's great.
but the council has to be there.
Why is it not up to them?
How could we not be, because this is where your decisions are going to be made about moving forward.
We're not taking any decision at this time. This is a listening session.
So that's why the council needs to be there, so they understand what's going on, what the people's point of view is. Otherwise, why have the meeting if we're not going to know what's going on? Right, so we have to have a public meeting.
Okay.
Right. So I'd like to throw a date out there, December 1st. We know that our engineer is available.
The 21st, no one can attend. I can attend.
I cannot attend.
You attend?
What about the 22nd?
No, it's not because we don't know.
Not everyone can attend. I have already said I cannot attend. It's one thing when we have the calendar made for the year and something comes up, that date's already set. We're trying to set this. I've already, a couple of years ago, was excluded from a meeting by a former mayor. And really, when we're setting up meetings, do not want to see that happen again. I am one sixth of the voice of the council.
Let's get all six.
So I'm trying to,
Right.
so a
I'm
date,
pretty open
how about
other
December
than that
1st?
day.
How about December 1st?
So far, so good.
I have to be, but I can miss.
You can miss it, so you could,
Environmental Commission from 7:30, Green Team at 7. On December 1st.
okay, so that's an internal borough meeting, right?
It is.
All right, so,
That's, you know,
pardon me?
with all, the, you know, we have a pretty full room.
So can you do then, how about if you come to this particular meeting on December 1st?
But that would be Dan as well. He goes to that.
And Dan also, because it's an internal borough meeting. It's not like, right?
We can find out what happens.
We can find out. We can have one, we'll, matter of fact, what we'll do is we'll request that one of those individuals come and report on what happened at the meeting.
Is there any other day?
It's already on the calendar.
I mean, that's a calendar. Yeah, I mean, I feel bad about that.
So then when do you guys want to do this?
Tuesday, the 22nd?
We have to go back to the engineer to see what his available dates are.
I'm open Tuesday, 22nd as well.
Does anyone have a
Check it
conflict
out.
with Tuesday, the 22nd?
I do not.
Jeff is here. Jimmy.
Sorry, I'm just looking at my emails, because I was asking Andy's assistant. 23rd, 24th, December 1st.
Those are
24th is.
Oh, 24th is not.
not happening.
Sorry, she did not realize she put in that date yet. 23rd, yeah. Yes.
So not the 22nd. is what I'm saying.
It said 23rd.
No, he was not. I asked them. They offered that week, 21st, 23rd.
Okay, so let's get back. So you said the 22nd is not good.
He was not available. I mean, I could go back and
So
ask,
let's
but
go
they did
back.
not
We
offer
have to
that.
Go back to, there's no point spending time, guys.
Can we give them, anyone, what about like
Give them options.
the 30th? Give them one or two options. Anyone on
Oh,
Wednesday?
We're never, that's gonna be the
I
problem.
did, my second question to them was that the following week, I think it's the 28th, they offered December 1st.
28th works.
Well, I'm just saying, I asked the week of.
Week of the 28th, December 1st.
Yeah, yeah.
If we can-
Okay, there's no point. We have to go to the engineer. That we're wasting our time talking about it until we have his conversation. Okay,
For not the first, but if that's not too loud.
all right. What? Okay, so we're moving on to the next topic. I'm asking the borough attorney to address the closed session topics and the revisions to the closed session, please.
Okay, so closed sessions may be held without public notice, as you all know, whenever we're at the dais and you have questions, you always have the ability to make a motion to go into closed. Additionally, it can be done during the course of a public meeting, provided that the subject matter is covered by one of the legal exemptions for the Open Public Meetings Act. The resolution does not have to be written in advance. It could be read into the record. Generally, you do have the resolutions on your agenda, the resolution number with the items. It appears that there was a lapse, I guess, and none of us caught it ahead of time, but the items for closed session were listed and publicized in advance. There were some items that were taken off, but the items that are remaining were actually noticed to the public. It's just a matter of that the resolution number wasn't attached to it. I do have the resolution. It just didn't get the number in there. And so I'm going to read it in, and obviously you guys can take your vote into going into close. But I just want to reiterate that there's no legal requirement for the resolution to be written or expressed prior to the meeting starting. So resolution R22-370, at a regular meeting of the mayor and council of the borough of Tenafly, county of Bergen, state of New Jersey, held on November 1st, 2022. The mayor and council of the borough of Tenafly has deemed it necessary to go into closed session to discuss certain matters which are exempted from the public. Be it resolved that the mayor and council of the borough of Tenafly will now convene in a closed session that will be limited only to consideration of items with respect to which the public may be excluded pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12B. The general nature of the subject to be discussed in the session is as follows. Matters falling within the attorney-client privilege to the extent that confidentiality is required in order for the attorney to exercise her ethical duties as a lawyer. Those items include potential litigation and contract negotiation other than collective bargaining. Minutes will be taken at the meeting and released to the public at the time that the matter is resolved.
Have a motion, please.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Stepping 1, 2,